I've got the ThrashTones template open in Adobe Photoshop. The first thing we're going to want to do is let's go to Window, Layers to open up our Layers panel. And the next thing we're going to want to do is let's change out the design. So let's double click on this layer thumbnail here. That'll open up a smart object. Let's go into Adobe Illustrator where I have this crow logo. And let's just select that, copy it, go back into Photoshop. And again, this is that smart object file. And let's hide this example graphic layer and paste in our design. And we're just going to want to scale it down to give it a little breathing room around the edges and click return or enter to apply that. So we want to save that smart object file and then close it. And now we're back in the ThrashTones template. And you'll see a layer here called halftone color. And we can use this to give our halftones color. And the key with this template is we want to get our design in there and then get the halftones out so we can use them in just a clean Illustrator or Photoshop file without all these fancy layers. The neat thing about this template is it has a lot of different novelty halftone patterns. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. And this one's called dragon skin. This one's called snake skin, lizard skin, frog skin, and they're more novelty at the top, and as you go down, there's one at the bottom just called distressed dots, and that's more of a plain halftone. There's a grid one that's pretty cool. There's some angled lines, and I'm just going to leave this snake skin one on. The other thing about these halftone patterns is you can change the size. So if I double click on this snakeskin thumbnail, we can change the scale. We can make it bigger, we can make it smaller, and 78%, that's fine. You know, if you want to go way oversized and do, you know, over 100%, that's totally fine. It doesn't really degrade the image or the halftones. But I liked it at, say, 89%, and we'll click OK. And all of these, you know, if you go into one of these halftone patterns and one of them looks really bad, just try changing the scale. You might actually find it looks a lot better at a different scale. And the other thing we can do is let's collapse that layer group back and go down to this layer called Logo Mode Your Art. The other thing we can do is we can change the drop shadow. So if you double click where it says drop shadow, we can adjust the size and the spread of this drop shadow so maybe it's not so big. And I'll click OK, and I think that's looking really good. So what we want to do is we want to get this halftone pattern back into Adobe Illustrator. And I like doing that with bitmaps. But we can also convert it to vector if you want. So I'll show you how to do that too. So what we want to do here is let's go in and turn off the visibility of this top layer. And we want to also turn our halftone color back to black. So just double click on that thumbnail, turn it to black. And what we want to do is go Command A and then Command Shift C to copy merged. Or it's a Control Shift C if you're on a PC. And we want to create a new Photoshop document, and it's going to default to a 4000 by 4000 pixel file. But with these bitmaps, we can actually go really high res, and we can get rid of the little pixelation dots that occur when you have a non-dithered image. So I'm not going to get into that, but just trust me here. Let's do a 12,000 by 12,000 pixel file. You could put the resolution at 1000 pixels per inch. Click Create, and we'll go Command V to paste that in, and Command T or Edit Transform, and we just want to scale this up to kind of the full size there. So leave that breathing room that you had on the edge of the file. Click OK. Now when we zoom in here, now this is a super high resolution file, remember. So those pixels that are small in a 4000 pixel file are really big here. So what we want to do is we want to smooth those things out. So let's flatten this image, and let's go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And what we want to do is At this resolution, a 3-pixel blur is actually pretty good. So let's click OK, and then let's go Image, Adjustments, Threshold, and you'll notice how those halftone dots are really nice and smooth now. Let's leave it at the default 128 threshold. Click OK. I'll zoom out. So that makes a really nice bitmap. Well, we have to convert it to bitmap mode first. So let's go Image Mode, Grayscale, click Discard, and then Image Mode, Bitmap. And let's save this to our desktop. Let's call it Crow Bitmap Logo .psd, or you can save it as a TIFF file, but let's save it as a Photoshop. Click Save. Now let's go back into Illustrator, and what we want to do is let's place that bitmap in here. So let's go File, Place, and go to our desktop. Let's assign that bitmap a red color, just like we had it before. And let's scale it up. Kind of have to eyeball it to get the scale about right. And I think that's looking pretty amazing. Now, you could turn this bitmap to completely vector if you need to. So let me just slide this over. And I'm going to turn this thing back to black. And let's just give it an image trace. That'll convert it to vector. Let's click Expand. Double click on this and then just select some of the white. Go select same fill color and delete. And now we have 100% vector halftones. And I'm just going to give that a red color again. And we'll just move it back in there and put it behind our Crow logo. So that's how you use ThrashTones with logos.